Hi, this is Southampton Town Supervisor Jay Schneiderman. Welcome to Talk of the Town, where we take a close look at issues affecting our community here in Southampton. And today, I'm joined by Highway Superintendent Charlie McArdle. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Jay, thanks very much.
Good to have you. And you got a big job. You got, what, 450 miles of highway to take care of in the town of Southampton?
450 miles. Of course, we share maintenance on some of the county roads, some of the state roads with sidewalks. We have 64 people that are under my command, 6 barns throughout the township, and a lot of equipment. And clearly,
a lot. How many trucks do we have?
I don't actually know the numbers, and as you know, we've been
a lot though.
We have a lot of equipment. And
what type of equipment do we have? We have. I know we have the snow plows. Everybody knows about the snow plows.
We have the snow plows. We utilize those same trucks to spread material to melt the snow and the ice. We have equipment to clear the right-of-ways. A lot of the right-of-ways become overgrown with vegetation. We have, chainsaws. We clear down trees. We have payloaders. We have equipment.
I know there was when you first got in, there was a snowstorm immediately, and there was a piece of equipment you put out there. I guess you had gotten working. It was a big snowblower of some kind.
So we got buried the second day I took over, and I have to admit, huge learning curve for me. But thankfully, have great people underneath me. But the snow was so deep that a lot of the plows weren't working. And there was this giant snowblower machine that was in the back that kind of was left unmaintained for a long time. So we got that running, and I was able to help out in some of the farm fields that have the big drifts that blow. Sure. So we cleared a lot of the drifts. We were able to go in and help the Shinnecock Nation. Their plows were not set up. At the end of the day, we came into the village, helped Southampton Village, and the machine, when it's working, which it is, works perfectly. It shoots the snow.
A true initiation not by fire, but by snow.
It was state of emergency, day 2.
I know.
So.
Boy.
But again, it was easily.
So you really hit the ground running. Now, but your background. You were a police detective.
That's correct.
For a number of years with Southampton.
So I retired.
It's a bit of a change of pace. Right?
Well, honestly, it's not, to be honest. So I retired after 21 years, but the police department is a quasi-military organization. And if you look at the highway department, we have the 6 barns, and we have the maintenance yard. There's a supervisor and assistant supervisor in each, similar to like a sergeant or a lieutenant in the police department. The crew have to answer to the assistant has to answer to the crew leader, and then we have a labor crew leader that handles all of that. So organization is very similar to the police department. Each barn has an area similar to like a sector that's patrolled by the so to me, that part was the easiest to get a handle on. Some of the things I had a huge learning curve, which clearly is the budget. You have a $13 million budget, something that luckily my staff, as you know, is a big help. We have a couple people that were in positions that stayed with me in administration, which is another big help. But all in all, I think that it really worked out pretty well.
Did you find, because I know you took over, we had a highway superintendent who was there for 10 years, maybe 12 years? 12 years. Was it in okay shape, or did you have to really kind of redo things?
So the 2 things that my platform for running was to fix the disconnect between the highway department and town hall. And clearly the previous administration in the highway department over time became very distant from town hall. And the other was to build the morale amongst the crew. So I think from day one, thanks to you and the other board members and the controller, which was super important, we were able to mend some fences, buy some new equipment, which the new equipment clearly boosts morale. When you have a highway superintendent that is caring about what the crew members are using, the equipment they're using, and we're upgrading, as you know, month by month. We're trying to get the fleet to an area where the crew is proud to be driving around.
Well,
So-
I think it's really important that the town board, the town supervisor, and the highway superintendent have a strong relationship, because if there's an emergency, hey, I'm the one with the emergency powers who's going to declare the emergency. But we all have to answer to the public, and we have to work with other, levels of government. So I think it's really important. And I did have trouble in the past getting the information I needed to be able to answer the public's questions. And now I think we have a really great relationship where I can call you, I pick up the phone. Is there anything the town can do to help support the work that you're doing, that kind of thing. So it makes a big difference. I'm not sure the public understands the different roles. The highway superintendent is a supervisor. Like, I'm a supervisor for the town, you're the supervisor for the roads. And you are very much, not just you individually, but that post is, it has its own autonomy. You get to make your own decisions.
Look, the highway superintendent, it's a powerful position.
It is.
And it's governed by town highway law. And there are cases and decisions from the New York State Controller that come down that it is an isolated, separate entity. And, but you don't want to take that and isolate yourself.
Right. If any other department, if somebody called fix the potholes, I would call that department head and get it done. But with highway, I can't tell you what to do.
Right.
Which you have your own power within that. You are supervisor of the roads,
right.
And I'm supervisor of the rest of the town.
And again, it's not. You shouldn't be using that as a leverage. It should be used,
right.
To help. And one of the things, like even being a former town employee, the police department is also a separate entity. And a lot of times you don't really see the other departments and how they work. So one of the things I realized right away is that we have equipment, Parks has equipment, the transfer station has equipment, and that big snowstorm, we ended up hiring out vendors to help us. And as I looked right over the fence, there were 2 payloaders. And right away, before Len left and with the town board's help, we came up with this idea.
Len being the former controller.
Yes. We came up with the idea of this interagency, basically, help. And, it also, I saw the Parks Department had trucks that had to be serviced or had to utilize a separate garage to fix their vehicles. And again, all they had to do was come around. So we're working together with Parks, with Waste Management. We're offering some of our crew to go over there to help them if they needed help. And that's something that I think was lost. Like, the public should know that we are on the same team, totally on the same team.
Now, can you explain that not all the roads are town roads or county roads or even state roads? Some of the roads are private roads, and then there's some of the roads that are trustee roads.
So we have, like you mentioned, 450 miles of town roads that we maintain the surface, plow, and et cetera. And then you have the county roads, and then you have county roads that in the middle of being in a county road switches to a state road. And then you have rules that it's a county road, but the town is responsible for the sidewalks. So there's a lot of formula to being a highway superintendent. So then you also have private roads, you have unmaintained roads, and then you have trustee roads. And the controller has come down very clearly to say that you cannot utilize highway tax money in the highway department on private property. So you have people that say, well, I bought my house on a private road, but I don't want it to be private. I want you to come in and pave it, fix the potholes. And in an emergency situation, if we feel a fire truck or an ambulance can't make it down because the road is that bad, we will go in and grade it. But the people should understand that's not a service for them. That's a service.
And when it snows, you can't plow it unless I've declared a state of emergency, right?
And there's a pecking order. Like, the people that live on a town road come first. And that big storm, by the time we got fully around, and you and the other elected officials, the phone's ringing off the hook.
Yeah. Now, there is a process where those private roads can become town roads, but it's a complicated process.
It's expensive.
And it's expensive.
Very expensive.
And the road has to be brought up to what's called
today's standards.
Highway standards, which means it has to have the right width, and people don't want to cut all those bushes they have actually on the town, on the right-of-way.
Drainage.
The drainage.
Very expensive.
Asphalt.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money, and people don't want to spend that kind of money.
Right.
But of course, once it's in, we take care of all the repairs and all the plowing, et cetera. So, it's no longer their expense.
The problem, like a private road, it's easier to see, like if you're in an association, like I'm going to say gated, or you have an area that's obviously all of the roads in that development are private, and you need everybody to get on board to bring it up to today's standards. Sometimes they're worried or they're disappointed that in the 80s when it was built, the standards might have been a little bit relaxed, and you might have been able to get it into the town to adopt it.
Not anymore.
But today, it's very expensive.
Right.
So.
And there's reasons, I guess, for all those standards, right? So that a fire truck can actually turn around. And
school buses,
width.
The way the drainage is, and let's face it, drainage is a huge environmental problem now. So the drainage is big expense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I know what you mentioned running for office a little while ago, and I remember one of the things you talked a lot about was traffic, right? That you were going to help solve the traffic problems. And boy, we have a lot of problems with traffic. The morning commute that really is frustrating to everybody, and then the afternoon commute, and then God forbid there's an accident and people get stuck for hours. So I know for you it was more than a campaign slogan. So you got into office and you said, let's do something, right? So,
that's correct.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing together to try to make the traffic flow a little bit better.
So initially, and I live in Hampton Bays, so I saw it right away. You had I'm going to say a program that the police department instituted at Canoe Place and Montauk Highway. Now, Montauk Highway in that area is a county road, so it was a county permit put in place to blink the light, they called it, at Canoe Place, which was able to flush out a lot of that back part of Hampton Bays. And if you think about it, people from the west are taking Dune Road to come over the Ponquag Bridge, and they're flooding that whole residential area to come out on Montauk Highway. And when the police department did it, they did it the best they could. They used a traffic control officer, and they set up a handful of cones.
That was part of that original blinking light program.
So the problem was that the traffic control officers are seasonal college kids that in September or late August, most of them are leaving and they're going back to school. So I mentioned at the time Captain Kiernan was in charge, and I said to him, I said, look, if you ever run short, let me know and I'll have my guys help you out. So he basically said if you could start Monday, that would be great. So we got in, and it was hands-on. Me and my deputy, Mark Brager, were there every morning.
And you changed the configuration a little bit.
We changed it. Well, it was a trial error. We were there every morning at 5 o'clock. We set up the cones. We kind of saw what was going on. We extended the cones. We extended them a little further. We stopped a couple turning. You couldn't turn it all. And lo and behold, it was really working. I'm telling most people that see me say it shaved 25, 30 minutes off their drive. So then, we had a conversation.
Well, you did something in the afternoon there too.
That wasn't original. What originally
it came on later.
It came on later, and
you out there just waving people through the light.
Well, we set up the cones, and if you're traveling west from the village, there was no reason why you couldn't just share that shoulder and keep going.
Sure.
And there was a turning lane. So we started with, we coned it off, and then we would just wave them through.
Yeah, so you created a through lane, basically.
Yes. And that helped. It used to back up past Edgewater Restaurant, and that worked. And now people were able to get off the North Road. So the morning and the afternoon at Canoe Place, with the program we set up, seemed to work.
Yeah. I mean, that light wasn't always there. That light only went in maybe, I want to say 5, 6 years ago. And after a fatality, and the county had studied it.
Yep.
And determined, and you do need a light there. It's unfortunate, but you'd need a light there. But
the county, after a lot of lobbying, the county did come in and put in a turning lane.
They did now,
right?
Recently.
Before, if somebody was making a left, you couldn't. There were people jumping on the curb just to make the right. So with the turning lane, if we're there with the cones or not, is a tremendous.
Well, they have
help.
a turning lane now on Canoe Place Road, right?
Canoe Place Road has a turning lane. You can fit 3 or 4 cars.
Right. It didn't have that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's big help.
Recent. Yeah.
Right. So then, as you know, we moved to blinking the light at the college, at both sides.
On Montauk Highway.
We blinked it at Montauk, and we also blinked it.
Well, we tried, right? So we did this whole program.
Well, prior to that, we did a live study.
Oh, you did a test.
We did a live study, we'll call it. And there was some pushback, and then there was some, legality about it. So we corrected those things, and then we tried the pilot program.
Yeah. So we went and got permission to blink. We did a whole bunch of lights.
Yep.
St. Andrews, both on 39 and Montauk Highway. I think, did we do Tuckahoe?
We did, no.
McGee?
We did McGee.
McGee, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
Tuckahoe is the...
Right, and then there were hurdles. People don't like change. We had, the big hurdle was Tuckahoe School. You had people from the south side of Montauk Highway that needed to get to Tuckahoe School, and we prevented those turns, and there was a lot of pushback.
Right.
But we gave it a shot.
We tried it. Yeah, so it was on 39, right, at the college we did, and then at, I guess, McGee we did.
Yep.
Right, and then Watermill, I think we did too.
We did Watermill too, yeah.
And then on Montauk Highway, Canoe Place, St. Andrews, and Tuckahoe, right?
Yep.
But it didn't, we don't have the final results.
Yeah.
We did a lot of work trying to figure out how to measure success. We had some rain, which complicated it.
An accident.
I think we took measurements the week before and the week after and the week of. And I know the Canoe Place Road, that really helps, but I'm not sure we got the results we were looking for from the others. We do want to find an answer. This is really frustrating people.
The problem comes that if 27 and 39 aren't moving, everyone bails off. Flanders and Riverside are bumper to bumper now. Pleasure Drive, you can't get out of your driveway. So it's like, where do we go next?
Now, why are they going down Pleasure Drive? That's in Flanders.
They're on 27. They see it's backed up. They get off at the 104.
Okay.
And then the quickest way is to jump onto Pleasure. I don't want to give away the secret.
It's all right.
Pleasure Drive
it's not a secret.
to 24, and then it's 1 for 1 coming out of 24. Same thing on Oak Avenue. Every little residential back street.
And the county, or not the county, the state put up some lights on 24.
They did. So there's a light at the end of
streets. So that slowed things down too on 24.
It did, but it's really the
Pleasure Drive.
The Pleasure Drive and the people coming out, they're all going in the same direction.
Right.
So I talked to the chief, and we may come up with a plan to try a couple days on Flanders Road to see if we can relieve that. But as you know, you increase the flow on Flanders Road, and it gets to Hampton Bays faster. And then what we're doing at Canoe Place may backfire. But we have to give it a try. That's my theory.
Yeah, you see what works. Yeah. I know one frustrating thing that I've commented on for years on the westbound traffic as it goes down, I think it's Head of Pond onto Deerfield and then back to Head of Pond. Do you know where I'm talking about? Near Halsey's Farm. And you have the stop sign at Deerfield, and you have like 1,000 cars backed up, and then you have one car heading south on Deerfield to the stop sign there.
It should have been a circle.
Yeah, it should just flow, and the car from Deerfield should be able to merge in like at any, like a traffic circle type of thing.
So the way home, the westbound way home, there are some ideas that we came up with. And again, the hurdle is the Tuckahoe School. You have buses that turn every which way. So the idea would be if we waited till the last bus left the Tuckahoe School and then put something in place, I think we could fix some of that westbound traffic. And I know you didn't like the idea, but coming off Sandy Hollow, it's a single lane, and then it breaks into 2 lanes, and you wait at the light. From 7-Eleven and Burger King, it's 2 lanes, and it comes down and you wait at the light. If both of those, back in the day, they were 1 lane each, and there's no light there, and then at McGee Street, it's a green light, and then at Shinnecock, it's a green light, you're not stopping until you're on 39.
So you would eliminate the light at Sandy Hollow completely? And
Just during
those hours?
Those 3 hours on the way home.
I mean, it might work.
And again, we could give it a try. And if that flows, then you don't have people going down Sabonic. There's no reason to get off anymore.
Right, in shrubland.
Yeah. So those
that can be dangerous, and you have a lot of neighbors there who complain about the speeding. I'm willing to try different things.
Yeah.
I'll see what works.
I agree. Look, in talking to the chief of police, and it's an expense. Nobody wants to raise taxes.
That's part of the problem. Is that we didn't create a lot of this, yet we're dealing with the cost, and people don't realize how expensive it is.
But they years ago, when I was at the police department, they used to have a highway unit that addressed complaints about like Sabonic, speeding vehicles, overweight trucks, all those things. And as time went on, it got eliminated. And I believe it's something that should be brought back. I know it's expensive, but believe it or not, if they had 10 cops assigned to highway with maybe 2 bosses, they could help on all of these different locations in the morning. As soon as traffic cleared, they'd be able to address the speeding vehicles. And I think they should be trained to weigh the trucks.
Well, pitch it to Chief Kiernan.
I talked to him about it. And again, nobody wants to raise, especially the police tax. But if you look at the police tax, same with the highway tax, you pay more in a cable bill than you do for these taxes. And it's the biggest.
Public safety is so important.
Well, one of the things being in highway, I never thought I'd be getting calls about speeding vehicles. Like, that's not my thing, is it?
No.
But people related to it, and we did well with the cones at Canoe Place. So now everybody on Pleasure Drive's like, when are you coming down my block?
With the speed cameras or whatever,
or cones, or some sort of resolution for Flanders Road.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I mean, traffic issues have been going on for a long time. At least for me, I've been living this for. County Road 39, it was one lane, right, when I was at the county. And we tried to figure that out.
So back in the day, it was the Southampton Diner. Like, you couldn't make that turn. That was the end, And then they widened it, and the people still came.
I was involved with that, the original cone program, right? But, it didn't end there. We're still doing things. We worked with Assemblyman Thiel on getting trains running in the morning. I mean, he was instrumental in getting the Long Island Railroad to run 2 morning trains, and they keep growing in numbers in terms of how many people are using it. And we've been running the shuttles that take you from the train station to work free. Well, because of, again, a grant or subsidy that Assemblyman Thiel has provided. So that's growing. We've been stop signs we've been putting up in certain places where people are cutting through and speeding through certain neighborhoods. We've put up some of those signs that tell you how fast you're going. I don't know if they're effective or not. We're looking for anything to reduce traffic, creating more affordable housing opportunities east of Shinnecock Canal so people can actually live closer to where they work and not have to get so many people across the Shinnecock Canal. At the end of the day, though, we're somewhat limited by our infrastructure. Years ago, there was a movement to create another highway. I don't know if you remember that. Middle Line Highway. Halt the Highway. Remember that whole thing? It was through farmland. It was going to go from Southampton to Amagansett.
Yeah. So I think originally it's like a paper road. Middle Line Highway was supposed to, and there's electrical lines, so you would want to run. Yeah, but.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
And now there's houses.
Right. And so, there's only so much you can do in terms of widening roads. We're an island. We're basically pretty limited as to, the choices. And to some degree, people get used to the traffic, though it's not great. We try to get bike lanes in place, give people some alternatives, build some sidewalks. Actually, a pretty controversial sidewalk proposal right now. Have you looked at that? I looked at it because the maintenance, again, by law, falls on the town. And this is we're talking about the county is looking to 39 and North Sea Road. Add sidewalks on both those roads. So if both of those projects were completed, the town highway department is responsible for clearing those sidewalks. And maintaining them if they're big, right? Yeah. So it's a big expense. Right. So what other, besides traffic, becoming highway superintendent? Is it what you thought it would be? Are there things that are very different than what you expected?
I actually, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it, and I'm hoping, that my administration is leading by example. I don't know if you've been to the office. We've cleaned the office, the yard, and I'm thinking to myself, when I got there, I'm like, highway superintendent's office, and then we got the biggest potholes, and have all these dead trees,
ironic, right?
And so we started.
It's like going to a barber with a bad haircut, right?
Yeah. So we started our own place. The place looks great. Some nice fencing. We even did fencing down by the courts to try to hide some of, so we are really trying to improve within, which will reflect out. We signed up for the Southampton Online Solutions Program.
Yeah, thank you for participating.
So we get calls, and we're getting great response from people because we're going right away and taking care of it, and the public loves it.
Yeah.
And actually we have another pilot program we're going to put in. Did you ever hear of goat scaping?
Yes, actually I have. Using goats to maintain vegetation.
So we have 5 goats on loan, and we're going to use them on some of the streets that the right-of-ways are overgrown, and they'll very environmentally sound.
You're contracting with a company to do it?
No, we're going to set the whole program up. We're just checking with a few legalities with the town, and we're going to try it for the summer. We have these 5 goats. We'll send them out. They'll be fenced in.
Do we have to pay them overtime? Or no?
I'm just worried the union's going to file a grievance. But I think it's a great idea. They do it in New York City. They eat poison ivy. They eat all kinds of grubs and thorns and stuff. So it'd be able to clear some of the dead-end right-of-ways, and it's environmentally safe.
No, I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And I think the public might actually enjoy driving by and seeing the goats. And
look, you have a ban on blowers. We're trying to do the best we can. You're going electric. You're doing all these things to try to save the environment. And I think this program is a good idea. It's done a lot of places. In fact, there's businesses where they rent goats to bring them to your property to take care of it. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens.
That sounds good. Yeah. Well, it seems, I know you and I have a good working relationship. We meet on occasion, and certainly I think the town board wants to make sure you succeed and give you the resources that you need. And you got a great crew over there. You're really dedicated people who are working hard. Yeah. I see them out in the mornings and trimming trees and doing whatever they have to do. So all over the place. So
I'm actually very proud of them. They do a great job. So before we go, just 2 projects I want to talk about. One is the work we did on Flying Point Road. You had an area, and again, I blame the highway department to an extent, where a lot of the right-of-ways, the growth was let to continue and continue, and I think if it was kept trimmed all along, the pushback that we got at the end of the day wouldn't have been there. But we came into Flying Point, we cleared the right-of-way as needed, and we put in brand new. And we solved a big problem with the drainage. And now we have a big project going on, which is going to start next week on Dune Road in Bridgehampton. And as you know, the Job's Lane culvert is compromised and is at a very low rate as far as what size trucks can go over it. We had a lot of property owners that built some big houses that brought some equipment over there that probably would have been a big strain on that culvert. So what we did was, and as I mentioned, we rented a bridge, and the bridge is coming on Monday. The bridge will be craned in and set across this culvert that only could take 8,000 pounds, and now we're going up to 80,000 pounds.
Wow, big difference.
Yep, tons, I mean. And we'll be able to get onto Dune Road, fix the road, fix all the drainage issues, and we're going to pave both beach parking lots and put in a bike lane. And it's going to happen in 3 weeks prior to the summer starting, and I think you're going to have some pretty...
So that road's going to come up a little bit, right?
The center of the road will come up, and a lot of the problems we have with flooding is that people's landscaping it comes to the road's edge. and it becomes like a dam. Like there's supposed to be an area where the water runs off the crown of the asphalt and has an area that's sandy or rock that the water can dissipate. If the landscaping comes right up to the road, it prevents it from
The water gets stuck on the road.
Gets stuck. So it's important that when we do these projects that we leave 18 inches of sand and so
along
on,
the side of the
so
road.
that it can come off, and I think the people will be happy.
Of course, that Dune Road in Bridgehampton leads to two public beaches there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Mecox and Scott Cameron.
Scott Cameron. So both those lots will be done while we're there. Since we got the bridge and we're over there with the big equipment.
Oh, good. You got to repave those lots.
Yep. And then Parks Department will come in and,
That's good.
and line them.
Well, that's great. Well, Charlie,
Very nice.
thank you for being on the show.
Anytime.
Enjoyed it. Looking forward to continuing to work with you.
Very good.
All right. And thank you for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you next time.